so as not to delay, I think we'll kick things off. My name is Laura Ian O'Brien. I'm the Marketing Manager for the College of Engineering and Architecture here in UCD. I'm going to be your host for today. Thank you for joining our webinar today. This is the first of our TalkRad virtual webinar series events that we're having. This is the School of Biosystems and Food Engineering webinar. Today we're going to focus in on the student experience and also the alumni journey. So to that end, we're going to have Sai Swethe, who is a current Biosystems and Food Engineering master's student. She's in her second and final year of the master's program and is originally from India. She's going to give you a bit of an overview of her experience so far. We'll also be joined by Jack Brown, who is an alumni of the school. He graduated in 2016 in our Biosystems and Food Engineering Masters also, and he's currently working for WEW Engineering, which are an engineering consultancy firm here in Ireland. So he's going to give you a bit about his career journey so far and his experience doing a master's with UCD too. If you do want to hear a bit of an overview of the programs that are available within our school and also a bit about the school itself, earlier in the year, last month, we did do a webinar series with our heads of school, our academic heads of school, and they gave an overview of the programs within the school and also the bit of the kind of research outputs and things like that as well. That will be available on our YouTube channel, also along with the recording of today's session if you miss anything early next week. And I'm going to get my colleague Katie, who's joining us as well, to pop a link to our YouTube channel in the chat so you can check that out after the event as well. If you want to join in the conversation with us, please do ask us any questions that you have for myself, either our student or our alum. You can do that using the Q&A button, which is located in the control panel at the bottom of your screen. The programs that are available within our school that you can look up afterwards are our 2-year program in Biosystems and Food Engineering. And then we have a number of 1-year programs available within the school also. So 1-year programs in environmental technology, sustainable energy and green technology, food engineering, and also our newest one is digital agriculture as well. So that's all for me. I won't delay the proceedings any longer. We're going to get started with our current student first. So Sai, I'm going to ask you to turn your camera on and give us a little bit about your experience so far.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Good morning, everyone. As Laura introduced, I'm a final year Masters of Engineering student from the Biosystems and Food Engineering course. I actually joined UCD in the year 2020. Tough year, but my overall experience is wonderful. Although the first academic year was entirely online, I could experience the college atmosphere mostly in my second year. Now, why I chose food engineering as my subject to do my master's, because I was mainly interested in the food and quite specifically its technical and engineering aspect of it, which includes the production and manufacturing of different varieties of beverages, intending to ensure safe quality for the consumers. Now, generally speaking, food engineers are responsible for ensuring the safe and efficient processing, packaging, and delivery of food to every store, actually, for extending its shelf life globally. So food engineers use their acquired skills. So whatever skills you've acquired in your undergraduate, you could use them, and your master's, you could use them to design sustainable and environmentally responsible food processes for manufacturing safe, tasty, healthy, and convenient food products. So as the consumer awareness and demand for a safe and abundant supply of food has increased, so is the need for more food engineers. Needless to say, the quality of academics has been par excellence, and the professors are friendly, understanding, and quite flexible in terms of assignment submissions. So my 2 years of college life at UCD has been a smooth ride. And the best part of it is not only that I feel the need to take pressure regarding anything. So with this course, in terms of career path, one can start their corporate journey in the food and beverage manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, or the EHS industry, that is the environmental health and safety, because of its broader scope of the course. Thank you. Now can Jack speak now?
Great, thanks, Sai. Jack, if you want to introduce yourself then and talk a bit about your kind of career journey so far and your UCD master's experience.
Apologies for that.
Oh, you're grand. We can hear you fine.
Yeah, thanks very much. So I think this is a good introduction into the multidisciplinary nature of biosystems engineering. And it was one of the reasons that I decided to go with that route as well. I come from a farming background and sort of had an interest in agriculture and food production, had an interest in energy and nutrients. So biosystems seemed like a good fit for me at the time. When I started, I was afforded the opportunity to study abroad as well. I spent a year in Virginia Tech in America. That was in my third year. Then my fourth year was, I had work experience in Diageo, which was a great experience as well. That was more the food end of things. And then after which I graduated in 2016, went to Canada for a year, studied or worked over there on a building site, and came back and got my current job with WW Engineering. In WW, I work as a design engineer for predominantly wastewater systems, but we do a lot of water systems as well. So I would have worked on some anaerobic digestion sites, worked with some of the big multinationals such as Pepsi and Glanbia currently. And yeah, sort of myself and one of my best friends graduated at the same time. I went the sort of the wastewater route. I always had an interest in water and nutrients, and probably coming from the farming background as well, to try and contribute to cleaner waterways in Ireland and internationally. Whereas my friend Michael, he went more the food route, went into PM engineering, got some great experience as a project manager there, and moved on to Mercury Engineering as working on data centers. So a far cry from Biosystems, but I think that's something that I'd sort of like to convey, is that you're making decisions now. You should probably do it based on what interests you. Don't get too hung up on sort of career paths that you can chop and change. And there's a huge difference in what you learn in college as to what will happen when you finish. But I found Biosystems great in that regard, because it was able to give us that sort of multidisciplinary approach to engineering, and we were able to come out the other side with skills, a broad range of skills that were applicable in a number of industries. I do have a few examples of what work we do. I don't know if I want to share some of that with you now, but just to sort of give you an insight to what a day might look like. So we'd receive data from a client who has a wastewater treatment system. So they have a food production factory. Everything that goes to the drain has to end up somewhere. They'd be measuring their CODs, their flows, phosphorus, nitrogens, and then at different stages of the process. And our job would be then to sort of figure out what growth they need over the coming years, what capacity do they need, any changes to licensing, so whether they're going to river or going to a sewer system, and then we'd sort of develop a design and figure out what equipment would be needed to achieve those results, those license results. Wastewater is all about growing biomass. We have different types of biomass that consume different pollutants from the water. So it's just making sure that they all grow in as healthily as possible and consume as much, giving them the optimum conditions. And then just to give an example of a few projects, this was in Pepsi in Cork. We were just adding some extra aeration while they were designing a new treatment plant. So these are membrane diffusers which add air to the tank to help the biomass to grow and consume different pollutants. So it's just being craned in. This is sludge. So the biomass has to be separated from the liquid at the end of the process. We sort of measure that. Again, more diffusers, aeration, TOC analyzers. There's a lot of technology sort of filtering down from food into wastewater or from the pharma industry. Monitoring and measuring is becoming more important. So this kiosk here on the left is for measuring organic carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and just one of those units alone is almost 200 grand installed, depending who you ask now, because everything's getting more and more expensive. So yeah, we designed sort of pipe work and working with drafters to develop P&IDs, and layout drawings. Yeah, the working in wastewater as a consultant has sort of allowed me to work in different industries and different companies, and sort of Irish water, distilleries, big multinational food companies, and a few others. And sort of whether or not you decide to choose biosystems engineering or any other career path, one thing I would say is that a master's is highly desirable in all of the STEM subjects. And I've come across lots of people sort of similar age or even older than I am going back and doing a master's because they need it for their career progression. So if you're on the fence at all, the fact that you can get a master's by adding 1 year to your time in UCD is highly valuable and highly recommended. Stop sharing now and happy to take any questions.
Great, thanks so much, Jack. That was really interesting to see some of the work that you've been, kind of working on, some of the diagrams and things you're showing us. I think our attendees will find that quite interesting, and then also the varied nature of the type of work you're doing with a background in engineering and also biosystems and food engineering. So Sai, I might ask you to turn your camera on as well. And we can take any questions from our attendees that are joined us today. If you do have questions, don't forget you can type them in using the Q&A button, which is located in the control panel at the bottom of your screen. Type them there and we'll get through as many as we can for the session today. Jack, can I just ask you one particular question, if you don't mind? Obviously you mentioned the fact that having a master's is really good regardless of what kind of area you're getting into or what kind of company you're working for. What are some of the skills that you found that you picked up within the master's, and maybe some of the skills that students are kind of needing to get into the workforce that you found was beneficial within the space of biosystems and food engineering?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was a point that I meant to raise as well, that we, as a consultant, we do a lot of preliminary designs for our clients. And to be honest, it's just like a lit review. We go in, we get the data, we see what's on the market, we sort of assess their current assets and where they're going. And that sort of critical thinking and the report writing skills that I learned in UCD are invaluable when it comes to that sort of thing.
Great, thank you so much. And then Katie, are you getting any private messages that are coming in from our attendees also that we've missed?
Yeah, I had a couple of direct messages. Actually, I think you just answered one, Jack. Someone had said they noticed probably from your pictures that your work seemed incredibly practical. So they were wondering, did UCD prepare you well? But I think you probably answered that. But I suppose maybe to add to that, was there any opportunity during your master's for site visits? As a consultant, you seem to be on a lot of different sites.
Yeah, so part of the master's was my work experience in Diageo, where I would have spent a lot of time on site and in their lab doing some prototyping and different tasks like that. In UCD itself, I wouldn't have spent a huge amount of time on sites, but the lab experience and stuff does make you familiar with sites once you get out there. And yeah, today it looked like I'm very practical and on site the whole time, but unfortunately that's only about 20 or 30% of my job. A lot of it's in front of the computer, developing specification documents, reports. So yeah, we do get out on site quite a lot, and it is a big part of our job, but there's no getting away from the laptop, unfortunately.
I don't think there is in any role, but you did mention your work experience, and I know Sai, as part of your 2-year master's, you would have also had that piece as well. You had yours in Diageo, Jack. and maybe when Si comes back, she can share with us as well. How did you go about getting it? Was it difficult? And I suppose that process, because it can be a bit of a jump going from being a student into suddenly catapulted, and hopefully you didn't feel catapulted into the workplace.
Yeah. So I actually did as part of my work experience, I did it at Chagas here, which is a food research development authority. And it was mostly, I can say, mostly research and development. So I learned a lot about software and using IBM SPSS. So in terms of, it was work from home. So I didn't have the opportunity to go on site and work. So that was one issue there. But yeah, overall experience was good.
And what about yourself, Jack? Anything to add to that? Was it easy enough? I know you were pre-COVID.
Yeah, so Diageo was 2015. Started there in December. It was just through contacts within the School of Biosystems Engineering. They had an alumni in Diageo in the department, and there was a position that came up for an intern. So yeah, it was the School of Biosystems Engineering was instrumental in sort of getting me that position.
Very good. I just have another DM that's come in to me, Laura, if you don't mind. Someone's just asking about the dissertation side of things and how much flexibility do you have in, I suppose, the topic? Is it assigned? Do you have a choice? Can you suggest an area of interest? Maybe you might talk us through how that piece works.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. So the dissertation, in terms of flexibility, they do give ample amount of time to complete. For instance, I have time till May 23rd to complete my entire experimental process. So they're giving time post exams as well. So that is one good thing to be noticed. And the other is, yes, there is flexibility in terms of choosing the topic. So what initially I was introduced back in September 2021 is my program director or the thesis coordinator. He had actually sat us down and gave us 10 to 12 research topics and projects as to which faculty or which professor is specialized in which topic. So based on that, you have about a time of 2 weeks, say, to decide, to properly research and decide, and then choose your research topic. So there's a lot of options.
And Jack, in your time, what did you focus on for your dissertation, and how did you find the process of doing that?
Yes, it was similar. My interest was around anaerobic digestion, and then I approached a couple of the faculty, and it was Kevin O'Donovan was my supervisor, and we just sort of sat down, and he was like, okay, this is the direction that this research is going in. Where would you like to fit in? And yeah, it was a collaborative approach, and he sort of afforded me a lot of freedom to decide what I wanted to do. And eventually we collaborated with some of the food engineering side of it and used the pulse electric field generator down in the basement to test the some different lignocellulosic biomass for degradation as a pre-treatment for anaerobic digestion.
Great, thanks. Katie, if there's any more open or private questions, we'll get through those first, but there is one open question I can move on to if not.
Yeah, go ahead. I just have one more question. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So it's just one open question here was asking, they've applied for, it's a conditional offer for the Masters of Food Engineering, and they're kind of wondering, they're not getting their final mark sheets until the end of June, and they may have a problem with applying for their visa. So the best advice I can give for that person, if they want to reach out to us directly, And at the end of the session, Katie will pop up myself and her email address. You can follow up with us directly. But what I would say is it's not an uncommon occurrence. We get a lot of people who have conditional offers are waiting for their final mark sheets to come. We get that all the time. The best advice I can give you between now and then is just make sure you get all your other documents for your visa prepared in advance, and then be ready to upload them and kind of start the process when you get your final mark sheets. But it's not uncommon. It is something that happens. But if you want to reach out to us directly, we can just keep an eye on your application as well. So that was the only open question we had. Katie, you said you had one more.
Yeah, I just had one more. Yeah, probably leading on from Si and Jack talking about their dissertation. Someone's just asking, in terms of the research intensity of this school, they know obviously they've done a bit of research themselves, and I know that the academics do a lot of research, but they're kind of wondering, is there an opportunity post the master's to go into research themselves? I don't know if Jack or Si, you've seen that with your classmates, or if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, I am doing my master's outside in the research industry, as I mentioned before, in Chargisk. So there is definitely ample amount of opportunities to get into the research and development side, as a lab technician, focusing more on the research rather than industry. So yes, in terms of opportunity, there are lots in food and dairy industry specifically.
Yeah, and I think from our perspective, we're engineering consultants. A lot of what we do is sort of research for clients, but on a general research side of it, we've just finished a project with Intertrade Ireland and Queen's University of Belfast, where we had a postdoc join the company and do some research on programming of anaerobic digestion plants and sort of monitoring and control of different parameters and how an automated plant might react to that. So that was a 2-year project funded by Intertrade Ireland.
There was one other open question that we have here, was just around, do food companies outside Ireland, specifically maybe Europe, hire UCD graduates? And what I can speak to that is UCD does have a really great reputation internationally, specifically within Europe for the agri-food industry. So yeah, we would find graduates who use the degree that they've got within UCD to go back to their home countries or to explore other countries to work, and that is a possibility. But maybe Jack, if you want to touch upon within your company or within your experience working in Ireland, do you find that international students are getting positions within Irish companies also?
Oh yeah, massively. It's an employees market at the moment. I've been working for 6 years now, and it's only been getting better and better in terms of job opportunities. A slight blip with COVID, but now every food company is looking for engineers and researchers and scientists. What you'll end up doing in each of those roles isn't always that clear, so you sort of have to do your background checks and your due diligence. But yeah, there's a lot of potential work out there for graduates of UCD and anywhere else.
Perfect. And that's really a good comfort to our attendees tuning in to know that that's an option, that they can stay and work in Ireland with their UCD degree.
Oh yeah, we're hiring as well if anyone's looking.
Great. Everyone should listen to that. Brilliant. So I might just finish up with you on the kind of one more question. Obviously, yes, you're an international student. You came to Ireland from India. Do you have any advice for maybe people who are moving over or making an application who aren't from Ireland, and how that process kind of was it okay for you, or as I said, any advice?
Well, I did my applications to UCD via a consultant. So I think I have also met people who have done it completely on their own, without any help, without any consultant. I can say with my experience that going via a consultant is much more easier because it's more streamlined process. I mean, they will kind of list that, these are the requirements for visa, this is what you have to probably your IELTS or your TOEFL, this is what you need. So you have everything streamlined. So I personally did it through a consultant, which is IDP. So that helps, yeah.
Great. And did you find the transition to actually starting your degree within UCD was okay? And was there enough support available to you?
Yes, enough support was available. The first year was a bit tough. because of COVID, and secondly, I was staying on campus, which is the residential. And because I got an internship and it was completely online, I had to shuttle back home, back and forth. So that was an issue. But that was just a situation. That is not going to be the same thing every year. So yeah, that was the journey. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And also just want to highlight that we do also have a number of different supports available to students who are joining us. And I think one of the most important, particularly at a master's level, is our career development support team and our career development network. So they're on campus, they provide supports for students who are looking for positions, either post-degree or also for internships. We have 2 internship managers within the college who do a lot of work for our students in that respect as well. They also do career fairs on campus. They do CV and resume workshops. They do one-to-one kind of skills consultancies, and they would also post an internal jobs portal as well that our students can access to. So there's plenty of supports as far as careers go within UCD that our students can make the kind of put their best foot forward when they're looking for a degree or looking for a job post-degree. So I think that's worth highlighting. But I think we'll finish up there. We don't have any open questions left. So thank you very much to Jack for joining us. Thank you very much to Sai for joining us, and Katie for helping us with the chat and moderating the chat there. I just highlight that Katie did put her email address and my email address in the chat there. Please do grab them there. And if you need to reach out to us after the event, or if you're making an application or need support, you can send us an email at any stage. We're more than happy to chat with you via email, or if necessary, we can set up a one-to-one phone call or Zoom call as well. Katie also put a link to the Careers Network in the chat as well, and also to our agents list also. So that's useful if you're applying through an agent, as Sai was talking about. So thank you very much for everyone for attending, and we'll leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your day.